This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we're very fortunate tonight to have as our guest one of the first candidates running for Congress in the new 2nd District. Those of you in the River region in Montgomery and throughout the Wiregrass and throughout the 5 surrounding counties of Pike, Butler, Crenshaw, Barber, and several others around Montgomery are in a new congressional district. The courts have drawn a new district, and the design of the courts was to draw a Democratic district. We currently have 6 Republicans and 1 Democrat in Congress in Alabama in our congressional delegation, but the desire of the court was to draw a 2nd Democratic district. My guest tonight is the first Republican in the race, and quite attractive one, I might say, Caroleene Dobson. Caroleene Hardy Dobson is not only beautiful, but she's brilliant. She is a Yale graduate, undergraduate school, and Baylor Law School, and practiced law at one of the top law firms in the state. Caroleene, good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve. I've long been a fan of yours, so it's truly an honor to be here.
Thank you. You grew up over there in Monroe County, and you watched me on Channel 8 over the years.
That's right. That's
on
right.
Channel 8. That's WAKA.
That's right. One of 3 channels that I got growing up. So now having a toddler and you're exposed to hundreds of channels, it's kind of frightening. And I'm grateful that I just had 3 channels growing up.
Now your maiden name is Hardy.
That's right. Caroleene.
You viewers may have noticed it's spelled unusual. I've never seen it before. People want to call her Caroline, probably did all of her life, but it's really Caroleene. And tell our viewers about how you got that name.
Yes, well, my grandmother was a lady named Oline Garrett Hardy from Old Texas, Alabama, in North Monroe County. And so when I was born, my father wanted to name me after her, and they thought Caroleene might be more fitting for the 1980s than Oline was. So that's how I got my name.
Caroleene, you mentioned her name being Garrett. No, you kenned old Cy Garrett, who was in the legislature for a long time.
Distantly, yes, yes. So
a lot of Garretts from over there in Monroe County were in the legislature.
That's right. No, there were some Garretts in Old Texas, North Monroe County, and some Garretts down from the Uriah area.
The Uriah is where they were from.
Uriah,
that's right.
Yes, so in South
exactly
Monroe
right.
County. So I was part of the North Monroe County Garretts.
But you grew up, born and raised there in Monroe County.
Yes, sir. That's right.
When you would say that, I bet growing up, people would always say, "Well, do you know anything about Harper Lee?"
That's right.
That's what Alan Mendenhall, who was just on the show. Is that how y'all know each other? Is through being from Monroe, having kin folks in Monroe County?
No, actually, we met through the Federalist Society, which you probably know. Some of the viewers may not, but it's a group of conservative attorneys, or not really conservative attorneys necessarily. Its membership is open to all political persuasions, but folks that believe in a strict interpretation of the Constitution. So that's how we originally met. And then I feel like, as is the case in Alabama, you're related to folks you don't realize. So.
Alabama's a big front porch. I've said that over the years. We had a picture made. I'm sitting here. I'm doing 2 shows today. Alan Mendenhall is an educator and author. Was on here. He's around 40, and you're young. You're 36. Now, is your husband a lawyer too?
He is not, no.
His name is Dobson.
Right, that's
Dobson.
Correct. Bobby Dobson, and his family is actually from Camden, South Carolina. So when we first met and married, I was talking about Camden and Greenville and Furman and Boykin, and he was like, really? These are all town names in South Carolina too. But I think a lot of Alabama was settled by South Carolinians in the 1830s. So
they really were, and Virginians. But let me ask you this, did y'all meet in law school after y'all got out?
We met after I got out. So I went to law school at Baylor, and then I practiced in San Antonio for a few years, and that's where we met, in San Antonio.
He was over there too?
Yes, yes.
Had he gone to Baylor Law School also?
He is not an attorney. He's also, I'm a real estate attorney. He's a real estate broker.
Okay.
So we met there in San Antonio.
Now, you said had a toddler, you got a little baby?
I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Oh, you have 2 children
yes,
then?
2 little girls. So it's busy over at our household, but it's a lot of fun.
Girls.
So Yes, no, that was kind of I lived in Texas for a little while, but when it came time to start a family, I wanted to be back here in Alabama and raise my girls to know Alabama values and, you know, to know where old Texas was and to know where Red Eagle was buried and all about Alabama history and the values of humility and hard work.
Now, is your mama and daddy still living over there in Monroe County?
They are. They're still in Beatrice on our family farm. So my husband and I live here in Montgomery, but we spend most of our weekends down there on the farm helping.
Now, I read where you were like a rodeo queen or something, wasn't you? Wasn't you like something like that?
Yes, yes. My family also, we raise cattle and we also raise horses. So I grew up coming to the rodeo here in Montgomery every year. I never went to the beach for spring break. No, don't know what that's like because I was always at the Garrett Coliseum. Here in Montgomery.
What age would you start doing that?
I started riding when I was about 3, so been riding a long time. So now I'm starting my oldest daughter riding, which has been a really sweet experience.
And she's got has she got her own horse over there?
We have a couple of really old, you know, only walkers that she'll kind of rotate on because you really want a deadhead to put a 3 or 4 year old on. So anyway, she's had a big time learning how to ride.
Your mom and daddy are still fairly young, so they enjoy teaching her and all, don't they?
They do. It's been really special to see the bond between grandparent and grandchild. So
and she's 4.
She is. So she is a mess, but it's been fun taking her to so many places that are special to me here, and it truly is a wonderful place. This part of Alabama.
Caroleene, let me ask you this: growing up over there, now in your family in the cattle business?
That's right. Yes, sir.
Well, did your daddy's active in the cattlemen's? That was what he was. Somebody told me one time.
Yes, he was Alabama Cattlemen president back in the early '90s. My mom was also very active in the Alabama Cattle Women's Association, which was originally founded by Louise Wilson, Ham Wilson's wife, and it's actually the oldest. It was the first cattle women's association in the whole United States. So I think it was a great outlet for a lot of women in the mid-century to be involved with their husband's cattle operations. So my mom was Cattle Women president and my father was Cattlemen's president. But just seeing them, they've always been really civically involved. They both had their own businesses, but that instilled in me the fact that to be a good citizen, it also means responsibility. You've got to take action and you've got to be involved. And that's why I'm running to fight for Alabama families, because I want a better future for our kids here in this part of Alabama.
Caroleene, back to the cattleman thing. I served a long time in the legislature. I was close to Alpha and the farmers and the cattlemen. And I grew up knowing Mr. Ham Wilson well and Miss Louise. And matter of fact, my lifetime friend from Troy, Bill Blunt, married Nancy. And they have children, 2 sons together, probably close to your age.
Yeah, Jesse and Wilson. Yeah, they're around my age.
So they're about wonderful. They're about your age, I guess.
Yes, a little bit younger.
They went to law school at Tulane.
That's right. They were there together, which is really unusual for 2 siblings to.
I was talking to Blunt over the weekend about the Alabama-Auburn game. He says, Tree, I really need to pull for Tulane. Most of my money went there, for the law school. And he said law school costs $100,000 a year tuition in Tulane.
No, it is.
But where I was going with that thing, I was good friends with Ham and Louise, and of course Nancy married Bill, but I was also extremely close to Bubba Trotman.
Oh,
See,
so
Bubba's
wonderful.
from Pike County.
That's right. I forgot about that.
My mama and Bubba graduated high school together.
Oh my goodness.
I've never not known Mr. Bubba. And matter of fact, he was so active here in Montgomery that everybody loved him. But he and I were real close. When I first started doing this show, he was one of my first guests.
Oh, really?
He sat there
How about that?
where you're sitting, of course, and I think I filmed it in Troy the first year, too. I've been doing it 15 years here in Montgomery. But Bubba was one of my first guests, and he was so delightful. He was such a gentleman, Caroleene. I came home from the legislature one day, and I had dinner with Mr. Bubba at one of the old restaurants that's not in existence anymore, Sahara.
Oh, I've been there once, when I was really little.
Old restaurants where it's gone now. And I said, Mr. Bubba, I told Mama, I said, Mama, Bubba Trotman, I believe, is the epitome of a gentleman. She said, Steve, he was just that way growing up.
Oh,
she said when he was a little boy, he was just known as having the most impeccable manners and distinguished. But you grew up knowing Mr. Bubba, and I bet your
Miss
daddy.
Dora. I knew Miss Dora also.
Dora
yes,
as his wife. Both their spouses passed
away, right. No, he was a wonderful man. And not many people know he's the only Alabamian to ever be a national cattlemen's president.
He bring that up in conversations. He's real proud of that.
He should be,
Now, let me ask you a political question. You know, you're running in this open congressional seat. There's 6 Republicans and 13 Democrats. And I'm going to tell my viewers again with the new district, really, Montgomery is the heart and soul of it. Montgomery is all together. But this district goes down and picks up this inner city of Mobile, but also comes through. Is Monroe in the district?
Monroe's in the district.
That's good. So your home county's in there and where you live now. But one of the most important things in a Republican primary is getting that alpha endorsement. Now, you know you got to go one-on-one. So are you doing that?
Yes, sir.
You know that's the way you're supposed to do that. You can't. Jimmy Parnell can't give you that endorsement.
No, and I really admire that too, because I think so many, I mean, I'm a political outsider, never run for office before, and I think so many people view politics as just conversations or things happening behind closed doors. So I really admire that it truly is a grassroots organization, and you need to meet with all of the county leadership, let them know who you are and what you stand for. And so I've been in the process of doing that. Obviously, it's a very short time frame between now and the primary. But your opponents haven't had time to do it either, though. Well, they got the same short time frame. Right, and of course harvest too, you know, coming from a farming family, I realized too, harvest is just wrapping up, and so it's been, you know, trying to respect people's time, because again, another thing I admire about folks that are involved in the Federation is, you know, when you farm, you don't have any days off. No. You don't get to punch the clock or lock the door. So the folks that are out there farming and producing food for our state and our nation are also taking time to advocate for other farmers, and so it's been really a truly tremendous experience to get to meet so many of them, and some of them I already kind of knew through cattle. That's what I was thinking. Groups, but you know, my family, we don't peanut farm, for instance, over in the eastern part of the state, so it's been interesting to meet with farmers in all sorts of commodities and learn about the struggles they face, and so that's been really truly a blessing to get to meet so many people in our state already, even, you know, a month into the campaign. Caroline, but I would think you'd be a natural for them, because here's a girl who grew up in a rural cattle family, you know, and knows the agriculture business, and you got roots there. I would think that you would sell better than somebody who grew up, is from Montgomery originally. Well, you may have more in common with them. Well, I'm certainly not taking anything for granted, and I want to make sure that I meet as many people as I can in the federations. They know, again, you know, what I stand for. But I think one of the problems in America right now is that we have too few people in Congress that understand what it's like to be from a farm or be from a small town. Certainly, if I were to go to D.C., I would advocate for opportunities here in Montgomery and in Mobile and over in Phoenix City and Troy and the cities within the district. But also, a lot of these regulations and trade policies are really killing opportunities in small towns or forcing family farms to close and sell. And so I think it's very important, given the makeup of the district and the fact that so much of it is rural, that we have someone that understands what it's like firsthand to live in a rural community. It really is. And one thing that I'm sitting here thinking about as we're talking, the second district has been configured pretty much the same way for the last 3 or 4 decades, 30 or 40 years, with Montgomery being the bellwether, but the wiregrass being a very vital part of it. And you take the wiregrass out, which takes a lot of the agricultural aspects out. Now you come through the Black Belt, where your home is, and you go into the inner city of Mobile. The obvious thing that I've always said, there's no question the interest of someone who comes from the 2nd District of Alabama, you need to be on armed services and agriculture, if you can. You know, armed services still exists because Maxwell Gunter is still the most important economic factor, and it's even more so in this new district because all of Montgomery is in that district. That's right, that's right. I didn't know how important Maxwell Gunter was until I was sitting here with the mayor of Montgomery, Todd Strange, on the show where you're sitting 5 or 6 years ago now. And it was a downturn in the economy, and I said, Todd, they were cutting state workers, a lot of state workers. I always assumed, growing up in Troy and coming to Montgomery for politics, that state government was the biggest employer in Montgomery. State government was. And I said, he said, Steve, that's not our biggest employer. I said, was Hyundai gotten bigger now? He says, no, it's Maxwell Gunter. And it goes deeper than this, because you might know this too. If you look around your church, where you go to church in Montgomery or wherever, the retired military people
make up the backbone of this city too. So armed services is still very, very important. Probably more so under this new district. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Whoever goes up there needs to make sure they're going to work with whoever is in the Senate to be take care of Maxwell Gunter.
Oh, absolutely. And I recently read that our military numbers are as low as they've been since 1940. So we definitely need to focus more funding on military preparedness in our military. And then also we need to create more opportunities here in the district for spouses of military folks, for children of military folks that are stationed here. We want someone to get stationed in Montgomery and be excited to come here and have opportunities. And yes, when they retire, maybe come back here or end up staying here. They add tremendous, a tremendous addition to the community here.
So what you're saying is you see an avenue, and if I maybe it's misinterpreted, that with more extensive military funding, that you actually have military schools. The school kids that get transferred here to be in the military, there's not a military school out there, is there?
No,
they have to go to the public schools around here. There's no other thing to, I guess that's true all over the country, isn't it?
I think so. When I lived in San Antonio, was also
that was
a big
military. That's right.
And so some of the bases had different educational opportunities. But I just think in general, making this area, Montgomery, the river region, attractive to folks that, if they do get stationed here, it being a positive, being somewhere they want to stay or come back to once they've retired from service.
Well, Katie Britt's dedicated living in Montgomery.
Yes.
I mean, she and Wesley live over here, and they are real proud of and so that's really, and I think Katie living here, she knows how important the education, and also with little children like you, y'all would be similar.
Yes, no, she is. She was one of my Girl State counselors, actually.
So you went to Girl State too?
Yes, that's right.
I have written about Girl State numerous times.
It is a wonderful experience.
The legacy of Girl State in this state is unbelievable. Beginning with my generation, with Kathy Johnson
Randall. Yes,
Kathy
Dr. Randall.
She was in school with me in college, and we were political friends in college. She's a couple years older than me, but we were. There's a legacy goes back that Girl State. So you're a Girl Stater.
That's right. I was Commissioner of Agriculture.
How appropriate. How appropriate at Girl State.
So
you knew going in you were going to run for that?
I did. And so that's actually the only other campaign I've had thus far in my life. So I'm a political outsider. I'm not a career politician. But it truly was a turning point in my life to see so many tremendous women like Dr. Randall, Kay Ivey.
Kay goes to Girl State every year.
Yes, no, they were all a lot of women that are doing incredible things would take their vacation time to come be counselors.
Lee Sellers is kin to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, we all. Our mamas were, her daddy was a Grant, my mama was a Grant. And actually there's a legacy that Lee was not that sure about. George Grant was a congressman from the 2nd District. For 28 years. The history of this congressional district is this was Lister Hill's congressional district. Back when, years ago, when Lister Hill went to Congress in 1928, his father was a surgeon, and he studied the human heart. He was a famous surgeon, Dr. Leotis Hill. Lister was named after the Louis Pasteur. He had studied in France under his daddy had. He was to make Lister Hill a doctor, but Lister didn't like it. He fainted when he saw the operation. So he went to law school at Alabama, went to undergrad. He started what's called a machine at Alabama. He was the first SGA president. He was the first machine person. He went to Congress from the 2nd District in around 1900. The Hill family here in Montgomery, the Hills and the Gunners, were the political families. And he went to Congress, served 16 years in Congress. Then my mama's uncle, George Grant, who was a lawyer in Troy, followed Lister Hill in Congress for 28 years. Then Bill Dickinson won it in 64. And the Goldwater landslide became the first Republican in 64. And it's been held by a Republican, with one exception. Bobby Bright was in this seat for 2 years. Did you know that?
I did.
There was a Democrat in this seat for 2 years.
Right before Congresswoman Roby, right? So.
But I've said this, and I still believe it, that if you win that Republican nomination, I don't think you're going to have to fundraise, because the Republicans are not going to give up on this seat. You win that Republican nomination on March 5th. When will the runoff be, if there's a runoff?
I believe it's in June. I'm not sure of the exact date.
No, there's not that long, is it? Afterwards, is it March? It would probably be April.
You know, I should know that. My focus is on March 5th.
Yeah.
So.
After March 5th, I think if it's a runoff, I think it would be 4 or 6 weeks
April
later.
Then, I guess.
So then you've got, in that race, you've got Brubaker from Montgomery, you've got Albright from down the bottom of the part of the district, Albritton, I mean, Gilberry, a football player, down there, and I guess the other two, I'm not sure who they are. But I was talking good about you in the Troy Rotary Club today. I was saying I'm going to interview this a beautiful young lady who is running for Congress in the 2nd District. But it's the Republicans can win that seat. They think they've drawn a Democratic seat, and it's going to be a tough race for a Republican. But you're not going to hurt for money. Whoever wins that nomination, the National Republican Party cannot afford to lose this seat.
No, and I think, again, you know, Biden's policies have harmed people, Democrat, Republican, throughout the district. Opportunities are being crushed. Our national security has never been more vulnerable in my lifetime. The porous border, folks just, you know, coming across in droves. I think a lot of people are dissatisfied, folks that may have normally identified as Democrat. You know, I read the other day, well, just a couple of days ago, that with respect to the hostage situation in Israel, someone asked Joe Biden, well, will there be Americans released? And he said, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. You know, what kind of comment is that by the leader of the free world? You know, would Reagan have said that?
No, I don't think so.
Iranian hostage situation. So anyway, I think a lot of folks are dissatisfied, and it's certainly my goal between now and March, and then if I'm fortunate enough to get the primary between now and next November, to get out in the district and let folks know what I stand for, and the fact that I'm not a career politician. I don't owe anything to any special interest groups. I just want Alabama to be better for our kids. I want to fight for our Alabama families and make sure our kids have a bright future and opportunities here in the district. When I was growing up, every time we crossed the Alabama River from Monroe to Clark County, my dad would always quiz me and my sister. He'd be driving. He said, "What does Alabama mean?" And he always said that Alabama was an indigenous word, and it meant "here we rest."
Is that right? I didn't even know that.
The indigenous people were traveling.
What would y'all be traveling over to Clark County? Y'all going to Mobile or something?
We'd take Sunday afternoon drives and look at trees.
Is that
so
right?
He always wanted us to know about the fauna and flora of where we were from.
How much younger is your sister than you?
She's 4 years younger than I am.
Is she living down there?
She does not. She is an architect, and she. So actually, Lee Seller's father, Arthur Joe Grant, is an architect, and she really looks up to him. And there's so many wonderful architects from this area. Bobby McAlpin, she used to work for him, but she lives in Colorado. She and her husband live there. But growing up, just the two girls, he really ingrained in us pride in Alabama in this place.
I know why. I saw Lee and Will are good friends of mine, and we're way off, Ken, because of the Grant thing, but she brought your name up at the Business Council dinner that night. She said, I want you to meet my friends. So you got to know her first through Girl State.
That's right.
There's such a legacy, and I've written about this numerous times. You start with Dr. Kathy Randall, Kay Ivey, Katie Britt, Lee Sellers, you, just a whole litany. The Boy State does not have that kind of heritage, I don't think. And y'all all train each other. It's like Kathy and Kay raised Katie. You know, you could identify Katie early on. I remember when Katie was governor of Girl State. She was a senior in high school, Enterprise High School. Senator Shelby and I were close friends and still are. I had dinner with him the other night, Bright Star in Bessemer. He's sharp as a tack at 89 years old. But I remember I spoke at Girl State. I was a speaker. You may have been there. I was in the legislature, probably before your time. But anyway, I was speaking, and Katie was there, because Katie's about 4 years older than you.
That's right.
4 or 5 years. So you weren't there, but Katie was there, and I was so impressed with her that I called Shelby up. I said, Shelby, I've just met a young lady from Enterprise that I think has got governor or U.S. senator written all over her. And I followed her career all these years, and we remained close friends. you know, I know her, I had dinner with her family. Shelby would come in this house. Let's go have dinner down at Enterprise with Katie's mom and daddy. And but you remind me a lot of Katie.
Oh, well, that's a tremendous
And being
compliment.
girls, y'all be a good team up there. You know.
Well, she has given Alabama a lot to be proud of. That is for sure.
Y'all look a lot alike.
So, oh well, thank you.
Y'all be a good image.
Very, very kind. You've just made my week.
You look a lot like Katie. You remind me. Y'all be a heck of a team up there. You know. It'd be a good image for Alabama.
Very kind. No, I am so grateful to have had her as a role model, and that my daughters have such strong women like Katie to look up to. She's really doing us proud up there.
I can't tell you, I have never seen anybody have as good a first year she's had. I mean, to get on appropriations, banking, and arms,
and write a book.
Right. I mean, really. I mean, they're touting her as, you know, presidential timber.
I definitely think so.
I mean,
I would love it if she were
she's just great. But you remind me a lot of her. Tell our viewers, wrapping up in the last minute, why they ought to vote for you for the Republican nomination for the new 2nd District of Alabama. Tell them why you think you grew up in the district, in the middle of it, really.
That's right, that's right. No, I am fighting for our Alabama families. I grew up in the district. I'm an attorney, yes. I understand how laws are made, and I've spent my career drafting documents and reviewing laws. But more importantly, I'm a mother. I'm raising my kids here. I want a brighter future for all of our families, and I'm not a career politician. I will vote to be accountable to the folks of this district and no one else, and that's who I'm going to Washington to represent. So I would appreciate your votes and support and prayers.
Well, and hopefully you get to meet a lot of them.
Yes, that's right. That is my goal.
Campaigning
absolutely.
one-on-one and get to know everybody, and be their congressman if you're elected. Folks, our guest tonight has been Caroleene Dobson, a Republican candidate for Congress in the new 2nd District of Alabama, which extends all to Montgomery, the peripheral counties of Pike, Butler, Crenshaw, Russell, and then goes to Mobile. But Caroleene will be on the ballot right around the corner, March 5th, y'all. It's here upon us. We got a new district and a new election. And we thank Caroleene for being with us. We thank you viewers for watching. Hope you tune in again next week for Alabama Politics. Thank you, Caroleene.
Thank you.